today's guest and I met in an interesting way. We're both in this networking organization, which happens to be national. And in a week, I got two completely different people saying, you need to meet this person. And so we met, and here she is. Dr. Unnatti Jain is okay, let's see. I sent you a request. I think you sent me one at the same time. Let me try again. Unnatti. Okay.
Hi, Lisa. Super excited to be
Oh,
here.
no. Okay. It's doing this weird thing that it sometimes does where I can't see you, but as long as you can see me, let's just continue.
I can see you.
Okay, good. Yeah, I can't see you, but I'm just gonna, hopefully no one can tell, and it doesn't matter because it's what we talk about that counts. So, so Unnatti, I was just mentioning how we met, but why don't you first tell us a little bit about your background? What's a certified parent teen coach?
Sure. So I study youth behaviors. I study particularly Generation Z. I have my doctorate in leadership and change with a focus on their behaviors. So I coach Generation Z. My target audience is between 12 to 26. So particularly, and parents, and I coach them on 52 different concepts to create holistic individuals.
Wow. Okay. And you've done some TED Talks, and you're also an author, right?
Yes. So I'm an author of a book called A Parent-Teen Journey. It's on Amazon all across the world. And I recently did a TED Talks. It's called How to Move from Control to Connection. And you can go and view it from my website. It's on the TEDx site and YouTube, everywhere. So you can just Google me.
Yeah. And so, of course, the reason that I thought this was such a perfect connection is because and some of our people know that Chris and I came out with a book earlier this year, and the subtitle was How to Stay Sane Under Insane Circumstances. But now we're working on the next one, which basically is about how to make sure that the kids are okay in these difficult, high conflict divorces and post-separation times when the kids are who we care about the most. And often the other parent is attempting to turn the kids against another parent. So also, before we even get into that, Dr. Should I call you Unnatti or Dr. Unnatti or Dr.
Unnatti, Dr. Unnatti Jain, whatever you want to call me. Unnatti is good if you can pronounce that.
All right. So I always love to ask the question, what makes you so good at your job?
My personal journey. I think we all whatever we do in life always stems from personal experiences. And that's where the passion comes in from. So my personal experiences makes me who I am today. I have a 19-year-old, and he's the one who started my journey 13 years ago. And I'm a divorced parent myself. And it took me a very, very long time to help him develop a relationship with his father. He has a beautiful relationship with his father now. But back then, when we were going through a divorce, it was a challenge to keep myself sane and to keep him balanced. So that's really what started my journey and made me into who I am today and why I do what I do.
Yeah. So it's like you have that empathy and you're part of the been there, got out club.
Yes.
You've been there and
got
out and still have, a child to deal with. So before I want to talk about how divorce impacts teens in particular, but first I was thinking that I wanted to talk about the reason that many of us stay in these difficult relationships, which we know on some level are unhealthy. And I know for me, it was staying for the sake of the kids. Why do you think that might be, or actually, should people stay for the sake of the kids, in your opinion?
No, absolutely not. So here is what I tell a lot of stories, Lisa, around my talks, just because I think people relate better to them. When I was going through my divorce, I had a therapist. And I think everybody who's going through a divorce, firstly, a therapist is absolutely essential. Lisa, you're doing such a great job. But additionally, we need a therapist. And when I went to my therapist and I told him exactly the same thing, he says, why do you want to stay in the marriage? He says, because of my kid. He says, no, that's you hiding behind your child.
Ooh.
That is really you saying, I don't have the guts to step out of my marriage. So I'm going to take my child, hide behind him and tell the world that I'm doing it because of my kid to prove that I am a good parent.
Wow.
And that really woke me up. I think that's very, very important. You're not staying in it for the child because you're actually damaging the child by staying in the marriage. You're doing no favors to the child.
Can you get into a little bit about how people are damaging? I mean, we get into it ourselves, but I'd love to hear it from someone with your background.
Absolutely. So when you want me to, how does it impact when you stay in the marriage, or how does it impact when you're going through a divorce?
When you stay in the marriage thinking this is the best thing for my child, how is that affecting your child when you're in that unhealthy marriage?
Multiple ways. There is a whole lot of toxicity at home. There is a lot of negative energy at home. Your child is breathing, seeing that negative energy. They grow up with the belief that this is how relationships are supposed to be. They become abusers as they grow up because they realize that the only way to make a marriage work is by either getting abused or abusing the other person. They are always in, what's the word that I'm looking for? They're always, oh Lord, the word is escaping me. They're constantly in emotional distress because they don't know which side to lean on. They lose their foundation, so they don't feel safe anymore. That is their internal trauma, which goes on with them 24/7, and that's what they carry into their adulthood. As they grow up, they begin to have strained relationships because they have gone through emotional neglect. When you are a parent who's going through a divorce, you don't have the time or the energy or the attention span to give to your child. Your child is going through emotional neglect, which you're not doing it purposely, but your child is still going through it. And when children go through emotional neglect, they grow up and don't know how to recognize emotions in themselves or in other people.
Wow.
So if you're staying in the marriage, it has very deep impact. They can also develop mental health issues. They will develop anxiety for sure, because they're constantly trying to balance between two parents and they don't know which side to lead on. And their foundation is super weak and they don't have a safe spot. So anxiety levels are very high.
Yeah. I don't know if you can see me like writing frantically, like really helpful. And we didn't even get into ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, which clearly happen while you're in an unhealthy relationship. But the concept of emotional neglect, I never considered from that perspective. So that's really jaw-dropping and helpful. So what about, and we know that divorce and separation, because many of our clients are not married, but they do share children. How does that also affect children and specifically teens? Because that's your area of expertise in particular, right?
Yes. So definitely. One, divorce, going through a divorce or planning for a divorce or threatening with a divorce, either or, it has very deep impact on teens. They go through emotional distress. They go through, excuse me, sadness, anger, anxiety. Academic performance will drop. They have changes in behavior, such as they will start acting out. Excuse me. They have increased risk of developing mental health issues. They'll have a strained relationship with parents. They will be very negative towards the parent. They will begin to start hating the parents, which can manifest then as manipulation and loyalty conflicts. Again, there's nobody better than you on loyalty conflicts. So I'm just going to keep that low, but they will develop loyalty conflicts. They will have a very deep impact on their own relationships. As they grow up, they would not want to join relationships. They would not want to have relationships. They will run away from them. Because just one more thing. Because they're already going through so many of their own hormonal changes that the impact of divorce is even deeper on teens. Because as it is trying to figure out their personality, they're feeling unsafe in their body, in the world, and then the world is shaken.
Is there an age that you think divorce hits hardest in kids versus adolescents versus college students?
I think it would be divorce hits hardest when teens are hitting puberty. Because at that point in time is when they're looking for a lot of support. They're looking for a lot of guidance. They're looking for safety. And at that point in time, when their world falls apart, it hits them really hard.
Yeah.
So let me give you a few milestones between they, depending from child to child. There's certain children that hit puberty at 9, some hit at 10, but mostly give and take, they would have all hit puberty by 11. From 12 to 14 is the time when they're looking for a deep relationship with their parents. So you will see a lot of fights between 12 to 15 because they're trying to get their parents' attention. They want more of them, and they're trying to develop their safety net. Come 15, between 15 to 17, there is a lot of peer pressure. They start gravitating away from their parents because they're starting to find their independence, and they're starting to create an individuality other than them being associated with their parents. So they start moving away between 15 to 17. So parents find it very hard to communicate with them because they shut down. And then from 17 to 19, they are very, very involved with their college applications. They're looking to step out into the world. So they're really not, they're going even further away from their parents.
You know, what's interesting is when you mention that age group being really involved with college applications, I've heard another therapist say that sometimes college is also one of the people are affected the most because when kids, I'll just say kids still, when they go away to college, and many parents wait to get a divorce until the kids go to college, they don't have a foundation to come back to. And you mentioned foundation.
Yes.
They feel like they've gone away, they're dealing with all these changes, so not just hormonal, but now, you know, navigating like their identity in terms of being away from the parents' nest, and there's no nest to come back to because it's been split.
I mean, think about it. They have left their home. They don't have their, I mean, we're really going into the nitty-gritty. They don't have a home. They don't have a room. They don't have anything to call their own. Their parents are not with them. They're into this world, wide world, where they don't know how to guide themselves. They don't know what the world is bringing for them. They don't know where their career is leading or where they're going to go. And the entire world is completely new. And then if the parents are going through a divorce at that point in time, it also has a very deep impact. But it has a different kind of an impact.
Yeah. So what are some red flags that parents should look for when the kids need more than just you know, the parent-child relationship? Like, when do kids really need help in these kinds of situations?
So here are some of the red flags to look out for. Extreme aggression, noticeable changes in academic performance.
Okay, slow down. You're a fast talker like me. What is extreme aggression? Because we talk to people all the time and their kids are furious at them. And I don't know if extreme aggression is like, is there a boundary of hitting or or verbally? What's the difference between aggression from teenagers who already are pretty aggressive in general or can be, and extreme?
So aggression can be within the home, as in they shout and yell and scream. Extreme aggression is really they're going out and getting into fights or getting into substance abuse or hitting out at other children or even abusing parents outside. That's extreme aggression.
So it's where other people see it. It's not just in the home.
Correct.
Okay.
Noticeable change in academic performance. GPA drops to 1 point something. They don't want to study at all. Mm-hmm. And teachers are complaining, schools complaining. They're on the verge of being expelled. Sadness, extreme sadness, anger, anxiety, closed doors, passive aggressive body language.
Okay. Again, like the closed doors and the depression, all that, I feel like that's part of most adolescents. You remember I used to be a high school English teacher. So, how do you know when it's more extreme? Like, I love the example you gave with the aggression where it's like there's a boundary there. But closed doors, isn't that pretty typical for teenagers?
I don't think so. So I actually struggle with that.
Okay.
Closed doors are typical for teenagers, yes. But they open them provided the parent comes from an empathetic place, an understanding place, and more of a listening place than a talking place, then they're more open. But when they experience a closed door, despite the empathy, despite the understanding, and despite everything else, they will not open those doors. They will not communicate.
Okay, that's really helpful because I'm thinking of people that we speak to who are dealing with that, where they're like, there's nothing I
Yeah.
can do. Okay. All right. Keep
Uh,
going. And
why?
sorry for slowing you down, but I have to because I love these detailed, rich descriptions and examples that you're
No,
giving.
no, I totally understand. So here, I was, and the reason, I'm just going to expand on that. And the reason for their extreme anger, sadness, or anxiety, for them not allowing you to communicate with them is good, bad, ugly. You have broken their home. You have broken their picket fence, their dream that they
Okay.
had. So even though they don't want it, even though they do want you to separate and they do want you to go through the divorce, but you've still shattered their dreams. So they're angry with you and the other parent.
You know, it's interesting because our clients are often victims of some kind of domestic abuse, going through the court system and divorcing or trying to co-parent, and they usually assume that the child's negative behavior towards them is because it's being caused by the other parent. What do you think of that?
No. So I would say there is a role that's played in it because the child's brain is very malleable and manipulation does happen and can happen. But a lot of the anger that they have is because of the situation that they're in. Think about it. If somebody comes and tells you, constantly talks to you about the other person, it's going to annoy you at some point, and you're going to say, okay, shut up, I don't want to listen to you, you know. So I think that has a deeper impact on the child. So don't think that the other parent is doing it completely. Of course, the other parent is involved. There's no question about it. But there is also a lot of their own emotions involved, uh, where they don't want to deal with it.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's get a little bit into loyalty conflicts. Do you want to talk about that? And then how do parents handle a loyalty conflict?
So I think the first major thing to do is encouraging open communication. And it's very hard. It's easier said than done. When you're going through all of these things yourself, to encourage open communication with your child regarding their feelings is very hard because you're not concerned about their feelings. You're concerned about your own at that point.
Right, right.
So getting external help is extremely, extremely important, especially when you're going through a divorce because you're not in a mental, emotional condition to help your child.
Yeah. Can you explain what a loyalty conflict is? Because I mean, I don't know if people know what that is.
So the child is confused. To me, a loyalty conflict is the child is confused. Here is a mother and here is a father. Who do I go towards? Where do I lean? Who do I favor? Who do I speak for and then speak against? That's a loyalty.
Right, and even who do I
Who
believe?
do I believe? Yes. And a pair. So I know when it's easier for me to talk now, but if you were to say this to me back when I was going through a divorce, it was very hard for me. So I'm sure anybody who's going through divorce is it's going to be very hard. But remember, it's very important to have both parents in the child's life. And
Okay.
So if you're criticizing the other parent in front of your child, at some point in time, the child is going to throw that in your face.
Interesting.
At some
Now I
point
know,
in time, it is going to happen.
yeah, yeah. I mean, everybody's told they shouldn't, and sometimes people do it inadvertently,
Yeah.
and that's like a whole other conversation. But even though we keep telling people that kids' minds are malleable and then they're not going to like it, there are a lot in our community of kids who are suddenly discarding one parent, and it's often like the parents that we deal with where they're like, I don't even know what I did, but I feel like they've been talking to me the way that my ex used to talk to me, and they're rejecting me and I'm terrified. So how do people handle that insecurity when they're like, I'm up against this master manipulator, I got out, And now my kids are susceptible to it, and they're believing that other person's lies, especially about me when I'm the one who loves them.
So that is, I have a different viewpoint on this, and some people may not agree with it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I think if you are on the right, you don't need to worry because your child has a brain of their own, and the one way you can support them and make them strong is be behind them without saying anything, but allow them to form their own opinions. And if you are the stronger one, and if you are the right one, you can be rest assured the child will not go towards the manipulator, because we think that our children are not analyzing us all the time. Our children are analyzing us all the time, especially with this generation. They're extremely smart.
You know, one thing that we try to push, that I did as a high school English teacher and now I do with our adult clients to help their children develop, is critical thinking skills. And that's exactly what you're saying. People assume that their kids don't have a clue of what's going on. And also, when they're in a situation where one parent is saying one thing, and then the kid goes and confronts the other parent and says, "Is this true?" And the other parent said, "No, no, no, that's this." They're basically doing the same thing to the child, because it's not about the truth. The child sometimes feels like nobody trusts how I feel or what I think. I'm not being given the space to form my own opinion. So I like what you're saying about this.
And I think this is where conscious parenting comes in.
Okay.
It is, and
that.
this is going to make, so continue to do your own work. The more work you do on yourself, the closer you're going to get to your child. Because
That's
your child is watching you, looking at you, analyzing you every minute that you speak. They're watching your behaviors. I always tell every parent, don't worry that your children are not listening to you, worry that they're watching you. So they're smarter than you think. So the more honest you are, the more you focus on yourself, the more inner work that you do on yourself, and the less manipulative you are, the closer you will be to your child.
Yeah. I see someone saying this is music to her ears, so that's good. Yes. That's great.
I'm glad.
All right. So what about the situations where, let's say, someone is not quite there with doing the work and they're in this highly emotional state, which is our entire world, and the kid keeps pushing them away and they're getting like, you know what, I can't deal with it anymore. Should they just give up? Or for a little while, just say, fine, don't talk to me then?
This is a very it's a very confusing question. So there are two aspects to it. One, should you give up when you're in a highly emotional state? Absolutely, you should, because you're in a highly emotional state. Should you give up on your teen? No, you shouldn't.
Okay,
so there are two
go
parts
more
to
into,
this
like,
question.
let's go into detail with the giving up. What does that look like when you're in a highly emotional state? What does giving up look like?
When you're in a highly emotional state and you want to give up? No, when you're in a highly emotional state, it's good to stay away from your child. Why? Because when you're in a highly emotional state, you're going to say the wrong things that your child does not need to listen to.
Okay, give us a scenario, Unnatti. Give us a scenario of what you imagine that could look like.
I am really angry that my ex-husband is going and seeing somebody else. My child is not doing his homework. Or my child is not doing his homework. He has a test tomorrow and he is not appearing for it. And I'm angry. And I want to help my child. I want to tell him to study. Is this the battle that you want to pick right now? Because you're so upset and angry. Is it really going to impact the child that much if he does not show up for the test tomorrow or give the test tomorrow? Pick your battles. Because what this is going to do, the emotional state that you're in because you're so bitter and angry with your husband because he's seeing somebody else, or your wife if she's seeing somebody else, you're going to end up taking out all of that anger onto your child. So at that point in time, don't fight that battle.
Yeah. So
and that's what I mean by conscious. Get up, give up, and get away. Should you, in the long term, give up on your child? Absolutely not. I mean, they will push you away because they're angry. So get the help that you need, get professional help that you need, but draw your boundaries, but don't give up on them. But when you're in a highly emotional state, yes, give up.
Okay, I don't know if you can answer this, but a number of our people have kids who have completely cut them off for a while, and they are heartbroken because they are feeling like they're dealing with a loss, and they're grieving a person that's still alive, and they're not sure how to wrap their feelings around that. It's like, do I keep trying and getting heartbroken every single time I try, or do I just accept that this child does not want me in their life? Let's say it's a young adult, like a 20-year-old, and they won't talk to me anyway, and I just have to accept it, and that's it.
So again, I'm going to say something, and I don't know how many will agree with you, but these are last real life examples that I have. No 20-year-old wants to give up on their parent. No 20-year-old. They may be angry with you, they may be upset with you, but they don't want to give up on you. They don't want to lose you. They are struggling more than you are struggling. So I would say get help. Work on yourself. Don't give up on your child. Your child will eventually come around if you are working on yourself, but only if you are working on that change that you need to.
Yeah, I think it's important that you noted that your child is suffering too, because the things that they say, or the things they don't say, they're complete silence when you're trying to reach out to them and they just don't respond. And you're sending loving messages, you're trying to send birthday cards, you're letting them know that you're available, and their silence. That those are the things that make our people say, I'm completely heartbroken, but I have to give up because I'm not getting anywhere. But you're saying just keep doing it, and also understand the child's perspective for whatever reason. Maybe it's because they're living with the other parent and their phone is being monitored. And if they
Hear beyond the
get in touch-
silence.
Go ahead, say that again.
Hear beyond the silence. There is a lot that silence speaks. If you can understand the silence language, you'll be able to break through your child.
Yeah. So Unnatti, when you talk about parents getting help, what kinds of help would they look for?
So here is, I would say look for a coach. And the reason I say I'm a coach, and I'll tell you the difference, and you can look for a therapist or a coach, but I'll tell you from a coach's perspective what I would do with a child. Coaching is all about moving the child forward. And we look very briefly into the past. The reason I say coaching is teenagers or young kids, they love venting. They love talking about what is troubling them in life and how their life is so miserable.
Yes.
Right? Now, we don't want them getting stuck in that behavior. We want them to move forward. We want them to bridge that divide with you and the other parent. We want them to focus on their academic performance, on their goals, on their college life, on their friends, on moving forward. So get that professional help. It's very hard. So either get a therapist or a coach, whatever works for you. But that's what coaching will do for you. It's a slightly faster procedure than a therapist. But
okay, so now are you talking about getting the child a coach, or are you talking about getting the parent a coach?
I think getting the child a coach at this point.
Okay.
Because you're not in an emotional state to handle the child.
Interesting. Okay. What if, and I'm asking you this only because we've heard it from our clients, what if the child refuses to go? But when I'm saying this, I'm thinking it's more about therapy. And the reason that a number of children, especially teens, say they don't want to go to therapy is because they'll say, you're trying to make it seem like something's wrong with me.
Correct. And coaching there's nothing wrong with you if you come to a coach. So, and nowadays, it's, as I study this generation, if you were to go and look on the internet, Generation Z, typically this generation, is very proudly looking out for a coach. Everybody wants a coach.
Interesting.
So, I mean, I coach a lot of youngsters, and it's really a trend when they say, oh, I'll talk to my coach. Because whenever they get stuck and they want to figure out where are they stuck, then they come to coaching. So yes, coaching is all about moving forward.
Okay,
and get your child.
what about the parent? parents. So let's say the kid's got a coach, the parent has work to do. How can a coach help a parent in this situation?
So a coach, so let's talk about me. I help both parents and teenagers. So I will help you as a coach. I will help you do your inner work and help you figure out where your blocks are so you can become a conscious parent. So I'll work on different concepts with you as a parent. And again, this will be all about moving forward.
Yeah, love it. All right. So Unnatti, how can people find you and what's going on with you? What kinds of things are you offering these days?
Okay, so I am, you can find me on social media. I have a website which is called www.genzandyou.com. If you follow me on social media, I post pretty much a reel every day. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok. I am offering course. I'm working on group coaching sessions, which are coming out very soon. They're going to be group coaching for parents as well as for teens, separately for different age groups. Then I also offer one-on-one. So if you go onto my website, you can sign up and for a one-on-one with me. I do a lot of speaking. So if you are in a school or a college and you feel like the youngsters could do with a mental health expert, then you're welcome to invite me for a talk. I'm speaking at James Madison University next month. 11th of November. So that's a big one. I'm also speaking at Davidson in North Carolina soon. So
Wow.
yes. So that's a little bit about me. Thank you. That's a little bit about me. And my phone number is on my website. My email is on my website. You need help, just text me, reach out to me. I'm here to support and help you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for talking today, and especially for providing some comfort and analysis of and a reminder of what the kids are dealing with in these situations. I think, like you said, we get so caught up in the emotion that we are dealing with in these really difficult situations that sometimes we just can't be available for our kids. And that interesting term, emotional neglect, is something I'm going to find out more and pay attention to.
Yes, I'm so glad I could be here. And thank you, Lisa. You're doing some amazing work, absolutely amazing work. So I'm very glad that I could be a part of your life.
Oh,
thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to be together again in a couple of weeks on your
on my
podcast.
Instagram. Yes, I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, me too. All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank
Talk
you.
soon.
Bye.
Bye.